Iranian proposal. Trump also met with Netanyahu yesterday by phone. Netanyahu is insisting that the war is not over. And we've seen some indications, certainly from the Hawks and from the fact that Israel continues to bomb in Lebanon, that they would like to undercut any possible negotiated settlement and head back to war. So what is your sense of where things are right now?
Well, the last thing you said is absolutely a certainty, I think. Backing up a little bit, I don't think it's a certainty that negotiations are going to produce something that Donald Trump will ultimately accept. I think it is at least a 50-50 chance that we will resume bombing Iran mercilessly just as soon as the stock markets are right for it to happen. And I don't mean that cavalierly. Donald Trump is coordinating through Hegseth, of course, and Kaine, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, these strikes based on his desire for his friends and ultimately his family to make money off the stock market. So that's part of it. And then the other part of it is I don't think there's a chance he's going to get what he really wants, which is none of the things that we've been talking about other than a nuclear deal. And certainly Israel is not going to buy that. So that's going to be a real stopgap measure, if you will, in trying to make that the only thing we do. So there's at least a 60-40 chance we're going back to bombing Iran again. Disastrous as that will be, it won't produce anything but more resolution, more missiles coming out of Iran, this time aimed at everything in the region, to include Saudi Arabia oil facilities, Bahrain again, Kuwait, all the countries that depend on that black gold for a lot of their wealth. We'll find it all pretty much drying up because Iran is going to target it all with the help of Russian and Chinese satellites, which we know are helping them now, just as we helped Zelensky strike Russia with our satellites. So this is a very complicated game we're playing now. And Donald Trump is, I think, somewhat desperate to get out of it, but he is unable to fashion a way with all the pressures and powers that are around him that don't want it to happen.
Yeah, that's of course. The bottom line is that Donald Trump will have to wait for Netanyahu's approval. He is not the one making all the decisions. Definitely not. Especially when it comes to Lebanon, even for Iran. He's not going to do anything unless he gets the green light from Netanyahu. A lot of people, they believe this is the other way around. No, it is not. Netanyahu is in charge, and he will tell you Donald Trump want to end this war. But the unfortunate thing for Donald Trump is, and for the American people actually, is that even if Netanyahu gives him some kind of decision that, yes, this is what I want to do, obviously we know he wants to continue war, but even if he does bend a little bit, Netanyahu, to Trump's demand that, yes, we will end this war, let us do this, let us do that first, and then we can end the war. Even if he does go into that kind of discussion with Donald Trump, Netanyahu, then you still have to wait for Iran's approval, because this time the war, when it will end, will completely depend on Iran's choice of time.
Your point, he's heading obviously to China in the next couple of days, supposed to be there on Thursday for a major state visit. And what is your sense of when the bombing could resume based on, I know you just mentioned the stock market. What might we expect to see in terms of the timeline going forward?
Well, generally speaking, he does it on a Friday. But I don't know if that will be a telltale sign of anything this time, because it could all be a feint just to put more pressure on Iran at the moment that they think they're going to come to some kind of deal. But I don't think so. As I said, I think the odds are 60-40 that we're going to resume this conflict, and it's going to be with a vengeance, with everything in terms of our air power we can pour at them. And before people say, well, the carriers are in position and all that, that's not what I'm talking about. The carrier air power is really insignificant when you start talking about what we're planning to do. This is marshaling almost the entire United States Air Force and ancillary forces to drop bombs from B-2s, B-52s, all the way down the line on Iran to further pulverize it, create war crimes, and kill a lot of innocent civilians. So this is not something I look forward to, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope we come to some kind of nuclear deal. But then what are we going to do about Netanyahu, who has said, I'm going to keep the war up?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And I also took note.
That's exactly what I said. Netanyahu will not give Donald Trump any green signal that, yeah, it is time for us to end this war. I agree with you, Donald Trump. Let's go with that, because this is their last chance. AIPAC is falling apart. The Zionist lobby is losing its grip in the United States politics. This is their last chance to use Donald Trump for the maximum benefit of the state of Israel. And Donald Trump is, quite frankly, ready to do that because of the Epstein files and all that. Donald Trump is not the decision maker here at all. This is, oh my God, beyond pathetic and very, very dangerous.
President Trump has been posting clips from neocon Mark Levin. This one in particular is very noteworthy to me. A lot of historical revisionism, I think one could say, that, or at least noteworthy historical take here from Mark Levin that I wanted to get your reaction to. Guys, let's go ahead and play F5.
We don't have to create opposition. There is opposition. We need to seize the opportunity, and we need to see the opportunity. And by that, I mean that our CIA, along with the Israeli Mossad, make determinations about the best way to determine who to train and arm, while at the same time we continue the economic stranglehold, and our military, along with our allies, the Israelis, provide coordinated support with targeted and supportive attacks on the IRGC and the Basij paramilitary police. That's, in my view, how you do it. Well, Mark, you never served in the military. I know history. I know history. Nobody alive ever served in the Civil War either.
Wow.
Nobody alive ever served in the Revolutionary War either. That's not the point. You do leave it to the experts to figure this out. But the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, he makes the decisions. And I look at history. I look at success. Success in destroying the Soviet Union. Success in pushing communism out of Central and South America. And we did this. Success in pushing communism out of parts of Africa. Success in pushing the Russians, the Soviets, out of Afghanistan. We didn't send in troops. We armed the freedom fighters, the Mujahideen in Afghanistan and others throughout the world.
He was reading a script prepared for him by either Mossad, the IDF, or both. That's all I can guess. I would be willing to bet a lot of money on that. He was reading from that script. And we've already seen how false that narrative is. What happened earlier that is being touted by certain people like the Wall Street Journal and others that was so effective in terms of almost overthrowing the regime was a joke. It was worse than 53 and Kermit Roosevelt's attempts to overthrow Mossadegh. Worse because it did not succeed, and yet it killed a lot of Iranians. And the people killing the Iranians, either directly or indirectly, were MI6, Mossad, and CIA.
They are not, United States military is not successful in Afghanistan. How they were defeated, how they were humiliated, how they spent billions and trillions of dollars in Afghanistan for more than 21 years. They were not successful in Iraq. They were not successful in any military operation in recent time whatsoever. The last time United States military was successful was when they dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan. That was the last time, and nothing happened after that. All of these military operations, all of these Mossad CIA activities, they're not bringing the result that they are opting for. Instead, they're actually doing a lot more to harm United States interest. For example, Mossad, we know they carry out a lot of false flags, 9/11. We know the USS Liberty. All of those things, they're doing too much in order to gain the objectives, but they're not getting it at all. Now they're trying to do what they're trying to do with Iran. They're trying to arm this separatist, but it is not working. They tried to overthrow the government from within. When this protest in Iran took place, Mossad was on the street, nothing happened. So yeah, you will never be successful in what you're doing simply because you guys are pathetic, you guys are miscalculating other countries' strength, and you are absolutely doing it for some biblical prophecies to be fulfilled, which is absolutely ridiculous and doesn't fit the narrative we have right now in terms of practicality of those Bible verses, the end of time verses.
Not the Iranian security forces. The Iranian security forces were stunned at first, then figured out what was happening and went after those mechanisms that were allowing them to operate so freely within their country.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's Iran. It's a different ball game. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Have a wonderful day. Subscribe.